We are going music-less today. A silent beginning to a Wednesday morning. Hi, everybody. Welcome aboard. It is a 11th day, not a 11th day, but the 11th day of November, the 11th month of 2020. We had an interesting thing, and a lot of people, it is Veterans Day. I hope you realize that. Maybe you put the flag out. Maybe you've, already said thank you to people in your lives that you know served in the country's military. But we were talking this morning, 1918 on this date was Armistice Day. And a lot of people don't realize what Armistice Day is or what it comes from, but it comes from the end of World War I. And if you do your history and you take a look back in time, it's really shocking to look at World War I and to see how many people were affected by this war between all these different countries that was happening, mainly in Europe. And of course, we're talking about a situation where you had so many countries involved, 9 million people, soldiers, civilians, lost their lives during that war, which was said to be the war to end all wars. And we, of course, know that it was not the war to end all wars, but everyone thought this is such a horrendous thing that it would shock people to the point that they would never want to go to war again, that the world would not accept. But we know that wasn't the case, because we can also point to this date in 1942, talking about veterans, when the United States Congress lowered the enlistment age for American men during the draft, which it started as a peacetime draft, 1940, prior to Pearl Harbor. Then with America's involvement in 1940, by 1942, there was a shortage of manpower. They had a lot of problems, not just getting people to sign up, but because the age was 21, you had a lot of people that had already had significant issues at 21. Maybe they had injuries or illnesses, but the manpower wasn't there. So they lowered the age for the draft to 18. And that increased, as you can imagine, the number of people available to go to war. There were a lot of kids that served this country when you think about it. From 1942 until moving forward, really. But 18-year-olds, many thousands of them went straight into the military and straight into combat in places, like Okinawa and, Iwo Jima. I mean, Okinawa just being that general area, geographic area of the world, not necessarily Okinawa as in a battlefield, but you know what I'm saying. A variety of different places, and many of them were, in fact, as I said, just kids at the time, 18 years old. I know we're considered to be adults, but let's be honest, at 18, you're just now learning about the world. So again, salute to all of you who served our country. And again, take the time today to say thank you to those who have, and I'm sure that you will. Also, let's talk a little bit this morning about how you can get involved here with the At Home Update. It's just simply me at home talking to you about things that are happening, not a newscast, as I always say. You can simply go into the comments section and feel free to post up whatever you want this morning. You can say hi. You can tell us where you're watching from. You could ask a question. All of those are fair game. And you'll see on the bottom of the screen, we'll pop up the different names of people who are watching this morning, like Angela Conley in Nacogdoches. Hi, Angela. Also, Susan. Angela, do you know where Cushing, Texas is? I wonder, because if you're in Nacogdoches County, not far from you, Cushing, Texas. And then if you go a little bit further down the road, then you really get into the homeland. You get to Sackville, Texas. All right. Also this morning, good morning, Susan. Hi, Angela. Susan, again, from Viter this morning. Hi, Jesse. Good to have you up with us this morning. Linda Reed says good morning. Tom, good to have you with us. One day further into this No Shave November thing, and I don't know how long it's going to last, but we'll keep pushing it as long as we can. Solange, good morning to you as well. Jamie is with us this morning from over in Bridge City. Also, Cynthia says, good morning from the Medical Center, ER. Good morning, Cynthia. Here's a good one. Terry McNamara Pfeiffer says, good morning. What fake news are you pushing today? Well, I haven't pushed any news, period, today as of yet, Terry, but hang around and we'll see. And you can be the judge of what you believe to be fake news. Tammy, good morning to you. Also, Barbara, good morning to you. Again, Veterans Day. What else do we have? Latoya, good morning to you this morning. Also, Pam Cheek checked in this morning. She says, good morning, Dan. I'm wondering why KFM doesn't report daily info on COVID cases in Orange County. I think a lot of that, Pam, has to do with not getting daily numbers necessarily from Orange County. A lot of these counties really only do it once a week if they do it at all. And some counties do it more often. And really what it comes down to, a lot of times, it's cities versus counties that do it as well. But it's one of those things where it's really up to the administrators in each municipality and county as to when they let it go. And again, it's also on us. I'm not going to deny that. A lot of it will depend on what's going on and how much news we have going on and other things, because you have a limited, a finite, let me put it that way, a finite amount of time to talk about things. So maybe that's it. Lucille, good morning to you. Also, Barbara Ann Woodson, so she's watching from Nacogdoches this morning. Hi, Barbara. Lisa Harris says, good morning from Vidor. I was in boot camp at 2 months after I graduated from high school. Sorry, Lisa, I'm trying to read. Yeah, isn't that amazing? Boot camp. I mean, here's your graduation. People went right in. But the upside of that, people that I knew that I went to college, kind of deferred and went to college, but my friends, and many of them went straight from high school into the military. They had 20 years in the military, and they were, 38, 39 years old. Then they went on and got other jobs. It was pretty amazing. Of course, not everybody makes it a career or stays in for 20 years. Also, Jerry Malley Tillery says good morning as well. She's watching over in Little Cyprus. What else do we have this morning? Drake Conrad. Good morning. Are you going to bring up anything about Joe Biden and his son? Probably not, to be quite honest with you. I'm probably not. There's plenty of it out there. You know where it's at, Drake. If you want to go find it, you can. At this point, I'm not sure if that's the issue that a lot of people are talking about, but I'll be honest, we probably aren't. Estarte Lambada, good morning to you, watching from Canada. Oh, Canada. Susan says, both my husbands served in the Army and they have both passed away, unfortunately. Well, Susan, my condolences to you, but again, we pass along our appreciation to them for their service to our country. All right, so there it is. Jump in if you want to. Plenty of other comments that you want to talk about. There's certainly folks out there that want to get political. Yeah, I saw an interesting poll this morning. I was going to mention it to you. We do a thing called the number of the day, and it's supplied to us by our parent company, who has a company in their employ that does surveys. And so they do all these different kinds of surveys around the country. And this morning they were asking people, how often do you talk about politics? And the number was 13% of the people that they interviewed said they talk about politics at least once every day. Does that number sound low to you? Or is it just because we're in the midst of an intense election period? Because it seems to me like 13% would be way undercounted, right? It almost seems like it's 90% of people. And maybe it's the circles we move in. Maybe it's the people that we're exposed to, that whether or not they talk about politics every single day. Sometimes you think, it almost feels like that some people talk about nothing else. That's the only thing that they talk about. And I've expressed my thoughts on this before about the idea that sometimes I think we get so caught up in talking about what's happening on the big picture in the national political scene that we forget to think about what's happening in our communities and what's happening in our hometowns and what's happening in our own house. And sometimes, it's important to kind of step back and not just talk about the big picture, but to talk about a lot of different facets of politics. All right, so let's do this. Let's go and check out what's happening in the headlines this morning. And to do that, Dan needs to push a button. There we go. We'll take you to KFDM.com, where you can see that we're talking this morning. Top story of the day: officer involved shooting in Nederland leaves a suspect dead, officers unhurt. This is one that's still under investigation. Rangers of Texas Rangers, Jefferson County District Attorney's Office, looking into an officer-involved shooting that left a suspect dead, officers unhurt. It happened, I want to say that it was like last night late that this happened, but you can go and read all the details of the story there, and pretty much followed standard procedure where that officer now is on paid but administrative leave following a shooting, because they'll have to have a shooting invest, among other things that will go on. Also, interesting story when we talk about, how does and where does COVID cases, how do they, spread and where do they come from, that sort of thing. City of Beaumont's health department says on Halloween night, they can track back to an event at the Log On Cafe in Beaumont a bit of an outbreak. And they said they've had several positive COVID-19 results traced back. And they can say that, they feel pretty confident that's where it came from. Now, the owner of the cafe has already said, to close down, deep cleaning. But the point being that, they can trace it back when they have the event and the time to be able to do that. So there's a story that might also be of interest to you this morning if you want to check that out. Plus, an interesting look at a guy who's been around a long time. Many of us have known Billy Rawls for years. I've probably known Billy, I want to say probably at least 25 years, maybe 30 years. But he's a little bit more than a month away from hanging up his badge. And this time he says it's for good. Now, Billy is retired before and then come back. But I don't think this time he's going to step back into it. So there you go. If you haven't seen this piece, it's a good piece on a man who, again, who's been involved in law enforcement for more than 50 years. I say probably an extraordinary career. If you want to go and read that, you certainly will. I hope you'll find it interesting. And then the story of the day that I really want to focus on this morning is this story, which I think, to me, I would have had this story a lot higher to me. To me, this is a story because it affects everyone in Jefferson County, whether they know it or not. I know a lot of you weren't around when Ford Park was built years ago, back in the 80s. And then the 90s when it was all going on. But this has been a point of contention that has probably been going on for longer than some people, for sure, for longer than some people have been alive. And yesterday, the Jefferson County Commissioners decided that they would accept the bid of the Renaissance Group to buy the facility for $22 million. Now, the story is interesting if you want to read this just with the Renaissance Group and their involvement. But beyond that, to me, you're looking right now at a picture of one of the most underused facilities in Southeast Texas, right? The Ford Park Pavilion. An amphitheater that was supposed to have concerts and people on the lawn, and it was going to be the Cynthia Woods of Southeast Texas. And of course, we know that really never came to. I bet you could count on two hands, okay, maybe 2 hands and 2 feet, the number of concerts that were sold out that were in that pavilion. Maybe it's more than that, but that's how it will be remembered for a lot of people. That it was an underused venue here in Southeast Texas. Now, other parts of Ford Park have stayed busy and will probably continue to stay busy. This group that's buying it has the intention of opening a horse race track, a racing track. They're saying they're going to spend $64 million in investment into this. And they say that's just phase one. And they're saying they're going to create jobs, refurbish the property. But at the same time, they made promises to the Jefferson County Commissioners Court yesterday that they would also allow some things to continue, like the South Texas State Fair on that same property. But by making this sale, not only did the county get more money than they owe, they'll have $800,000 after they pay off all the debt that they owe, but they're also saving a huge amount of money that they're spending every single year in taxes just to keep the facility open. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens now. And there's a timeline for Renaissance Group and what they're going to do and how long it will take them to do it. So keep an eye on that. All right. Also this morning, a lot of folks talking about a vaccine from Pfizer. And of course, we all hope that it works. 90% effective in a test situation, in a test results for, at this point, that's where they're at, and they feel like it'll stay that way, 90% effective, which health experts, especially I saw Dr. Fauci was saying that was extraordinary. He expected maybe 70% effectiveness. So 90% is extremely high. But here's a Houston doctor in the Chronicle in a story by Allison Medley saying, don't expect this to happen before the end of the year. That it's probably going to take a while, A, for this to happen, and B, for it to make a difference. Now, for folks, you're automatically, when you see something like that, you go, oh, okay, it's going to happen. Somebody says they expect the vaccine to be out by December, January. Well, the vaccine may be out, but then there becomes the problem of manufacture, of distribution, of getting people to take the vaccine. Here's the other thing about the Pfizer vaccine. If you haven't looked at this, it has to be kept in, I want to say it's negative 25 or something. It's an unbelievable, it's super cold. Super cold storage is required. And the real kicker to this is it takes 2 doses to be effective. So you have to get 2 shots. A lot of people, and you know this as well as I do, they will go and get the first one and may never get the second one. So it will not have that kind of effectiveness if you don't get the second one. So you've got to convince people that it's worth the investment and worth the time. And for all those things to happen, most people outside of, the pharma community and outside of the company that is manufacturing it are saying that you're probably not looking at January, that you're probably looking maybe April at best to really start to get it out to the mass populace. And it may be even further than that by the time it goes much further. So a story to keep an eye on. I keep saying that because I think all of these are stories that you want to keep an eye on. That I just want to bring to your attention. Also this morning, how bad is it out in West Texas? Well, funeral homes and hospitals are bracing for a new wave, and we have passed the 1 million confirmed case mark here in the state of Texas. And it has claimed 18,700 lives in the state. And now they're bringing in these 18-wheelers to serve as morgues in El Paso. It's bad in El Paso. Let's just put it that way. Funeral homes and hospitals saying that they feel like they're about to be overwhelmed. All right, I want to leave you with one final thing this morning, and that is this. I always like to leave on a light note. I thought this was pretty good. As we said, it is Veterans Day. And here's a story from USA Today. World War II veteran just shy of 100th birthday offers up his secret to longevity. He says it's his wife and vodka. Frank Caruso served in World War II, and this Veteran Day, just 8 days shy of his 100th birthday, his memory still serves him remarkably well. When he was asked to the secret of his longevity and happy life, he turns to Anna, his wife of 72 years, and says, there she is. There's the secret. Then Caruso offers another suggestion. I have longevity medicine. 1 absolute vodka martini a day, just 1, and a drop of vermouth, no fruit. You gotta love it. Oh yeah. There's the happy couple, Fred and Anna. He's 99, She's 94. Wow. All right. There's a story to celebrate for sure. All right, that does it for me today. Appreciate your spending a few minutes. Don't forget there are a variety of ways that you can check up on us. You're at one of them. That's the Facebook page for KFDM News. Also check out Twitter, Morning TV Dan. On YouTube, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Dan's at Home. Of course, we'll see you back bright and early tomorrow morning on KFDM TV. Between now and then, stay in touch, KFDM.com, Fox4Beaumont.com, and also, of course, coming up noon, 5:36, 9, and 10. All the latest newscasts on KFDM and KBTV Fox 4. Till we talk again, have yourself a terrific day and stay safe.